Well, good evening and thanks for joining us tonight here on News 20 on GTN. We have a great show for you tonight. Joining me to my right, we have Tom Smith Sr. Glad you could join us. Appreciate your time here on the show.
Thank you for having us.
I guess we kind of need to set this up and why we're having this show and what this show is about. I've known you for a long time, back to my days, as you say, when I was no taller than this desk.
Pretty much.
And that was through the world of soccer. I think most people know you in the St. Louis area, besides being a St. Louis County police officer, through the world of soccer. Let's touch on that real quick and how that has been a lifelong structure for you.
I started coaching back when my son, who this tournament's all about, started playing soccer. Started coaching him. Got into the sport, enjoyed the sport, and then discovered that officiating was not so good. And then somebody told me, well, if you don't like it, why don't you do it? Well, that was over 32 years ago. Now, I've went the gamut. I went from youth ball all the way to international soccer, professional soccer, indoor, outdoor. There's no level that I haven't done yet. And so it's been an enjoyable road. It's been fun.
So in essence, as a soccer referee, half the people love you, half the people hate you, right?
All the time. All the time.
And let's talk about your law enforcement career with St. Louis County Police Department for a number of years.
37 years and 4 months. I retired in 2012. Started right out of, I was hired when I was 21 years old and retired when I was 58 years old. I had a good career, a lot of good bosses, and a good community to work for. I grew up in the North County area, so it was something that I could give back the entire time. Wasn't just a paycheck, it was a career.
Well, unfortunately, we've known each other for a long time, but our friendship really came to fruition really close after a very tragic accident in your family with your son. And that's where this is born out of. For the people who don't know, let's talk a little bit about what happened to your family, to your son on that day in December, and that'll lead us into why we're here today.
December 5th, 1997 at 12:17 a.m. Tommy and I were both working. He was in the south end in the 3rd precinct, and I was in the 1st precinct. And it was a rainy, cold night, icy. And he was out on an accident scene. I was out on an accident scene. How crazy that turned out to be, at the north end, at 367 in Lindbergh. And that evening, after I finished my accident situation, Sergeant called. I got a call to go to the station, and that's never good. That means somebody's mad at you. You did something wrong. So I stopped at the local QT and called ahead to kind of prepare myself. And when the desk man says, I really don't know what's going on, I thought, oh, this is not good. So when I walked in, my sergeant, who's a longtime friend, said, hey, Tommy's been involved in an accident. Let me get back to you. Grab a cup of coffee. Okay. So I went and got a cup of coffee and came back after about 10 minutes, knowing this my sergeant, that he's not a staller. He was stalling. And I walked in, I said, what's going on? And he goes, an accident, he didn't make it. Well, after he picked me up off the floor, and we talked for a few minutes, I started making some phone calls, called my parents, my dad. My mom had passed. And the nightmare began. And it's been a continual nightmare, but through support of friends, community, and law enforcement, I've been able to make it this far.
Your family and my wife's family grew up pretty much next door.
Block from each other. Kids went to school together.
The irony of, how things happen in life is incredible. I do remember where I was sitting on December 6th when I found out that it was time. I was actually with my wife at her house in her basement when it happened, and as a father of 3 now, every time I hear you speak, talk to you, I think of my own life and how things can change
Instantly.
on a dime.
Instantly. I had talked with Tommy that night on the radio. I told him, I said, it's getting a little icy up here, bud. Take it easy. Okay, talk to you in the morning. We talked every day after his shift. What he did, what he didn't do, what he should have done. Kind of went over things. And that's the last time I talked to him.
What would you say as a father to individuals like myself and other individuals that are sitting out there watching this right now, hearing your story about just life in general? And it's so much we take for granted, and the things that we think are important don't really mean anything.
In the end, they do mean something, but I've learned through my faith and through community and through family that family is first. And everybody says that. That's the big cliche. But it is, but things will change in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, things will change. Can change. Everybody is complacent with life. Not that you should be in a panic about anything, but it can happen. And pay attention. Spend time. And that was one thing I was always happy about, and I'll never regret. I grew up with my kids. I was 20 when my son was born. I was 23 when my daughter was born. And I got to grow up with them. And by doing that, we were not only friends, we were and parents to children. I was his coach. I was their coach. We did everything together. And I'll never feel bad about anything in our life that we did, because we were close. That on the backside was tough. You know, you're losing not only your son, losing one of your best friends, somebody you trust. So it's tough, but you have to keep family in focus. Don't get so wrapped up in your life that you forgot how this all got started.
How do you come to grips with it on an everyday basis, even now, all these years later?
I cry every day. Every day I'll shed a tear for him and for the family. And I watch what it's done to my wife, his mother. I've watched what it's done to his sister. I watched what it did to my parents, my in-laws, the grief that and the collateral damage from that, what it does to them emotionally. I've watched what it did to the entire family. And being the policeman who's supposed to be able to fix everything, we can't. And we don't. I blame myself. If it wasn't for me, he would have never been there. Well, I've been told otherwise. I've been advised otherwise. I've been guided otherwise. But I'm his father. So I'm the one who led him down that path. But it's a path that he wanted to be at. So
I was going to say, from what I've learned and what I knew, is that he wanted to walk in your footsteps.
He did.
He wanted to be his dad. And that's got to make you unbelievably proud to have a son say, I want to be like my father.
Yes, it is, and it will always be, but it still tears at my heart that his mother and his sister and then the rest of the family went through all the problems or continue to have a part of their life missing. You want to be an influence on somebody, but you don't want to be a negative influence. I've had plenty of relatives, plenty of soccer people that I've run through over the years, youth that have grown up and become policemen. Some say because of me, some say in spite of me. Who knows? But you want to be a good role model. But then again, you still want to have fun with life. It's hard. It really is. It's hard. And if anybody tells you that losing a child, you can get over it, they're lying.
What would you say from your point of view in terms of a lot of people don't understand how respected they are from the outside because they don't see that.
That's correct.
But you walk on the street and you throw your name out there, and so many people respect you in so many different realms, whether it's the soccer world, the police world, or just being a family guy. When, like Angela's, my wife's family, you mentioned the Smith family, and you would not believe the words, positive words that come out about your family in general.
We all grew up together in a very small parish, and everybody took care of each other. You took care of each other's kids. It was just a big family, and it's something that if you did something stupid, you did something out of line, everybody was going to know it. Everybody was going to see it. And, you know, I used to, when I coached and dealt with the kids, we were Eucharistic ministers in our church, my wife and I, and, you know, if you don't hold up to a certain standard, to some degree, you feel responsible. And I took the jobs that I've taken, the careers path that I chose, to be an example, not only for my own family, but for myself and for anybody else. So it's an adventure every day.
Well, we've got a lot to talk to you about, but I want to make sure that we talk about this multiple times throughout the show. The annual golf outing, and this
Yes.
is an opportunity to honor Tommy and a chance to give to the Backstoppers in Special Olympics. Talk to us about this.
Tommy started refereeing. He played, and then when he started officiating, because I was officiating, he got great joy out of officiating the disabled, the handicapped youth teams. So our drive, we did get a chance to officiate together a few times. And the drive was, and he was coaching also. He did a little youth coaching. So the drive was for, I was almost at the professional level, and I told him, I said, we'll move along, and I'll help you through this process. Well, he was having fun at it. Well, when everything stopped rather suddenly, the referees all got together and said, hey, why don't we just do something for the kids that he was so involved in under his banner? Okay. So we've been doing golf trivias, different things for the last 17 years for charities. It's for the kids. It's for the kids. And we've added Backstoppers because essentially that's for the kids. Moms and dads, they can get along, but the kids. So it's all basically boils down to the kids.
And this event is going to be held on Saturday, July 18th at Emerald Greens Golf Course. Tee-off time is 1:30. We'll give you all the information where you can go to find out more. You're seeing it on the screen right now. 4-man scrambles. This is an excellent way to, like I mentioned, not only honor Tom, but honor other officers who have given their life in the line of duty. Backstoppers, of course, takes care of those families. And the Special Olympics, you know what they do for the community. What would you have to say about when you're at this event, you see everybody out there supporting it, and what it makes you feel like being,
I feel proud that people care. They care for the kids. They care for law enforcement, cares about Special Olympics. The rest of the world cares about law enforcement. So the two of them coming together under the same banner only makes sense. And it's fun to watch everybody come out and have a good time. This is to have a good time. Yes, there are the ones that want to win and be the ringers coming in, and that's fine. But there are the ones that the husband and wives are playing, the kids are playing. We want everybody to be a part and have a good time, enjoy it. The food, the auction, and if you don't want to play golf, you can come out for a small donation, for $50. You can have a brisket dinner and attend the auction. For a single person, $30, a brisket dinner, and all the beer you can drink. So it's fun. It's a fun day.
Now, we're not too far away from this event.
No, about a month.
July 18th. You really need to get things in by July 1st, July 8th, somewhere. July 8th is the cutoff, though.
Well, cut off in the sense that get your information in, your teams in. We'll accept your money that day, but we want to get everybody registered and their names on the carts and things of that nature. And any whole sponsors, we want to have the signs made for that prior to. We have cutoff for our suppliers. So we're flexible.
And we'll talk much more about this as the show goes on here. But once again, Saturday, July 18th, make sure and get that on your calendar. We'll give you the website in just a bit to go find out more information. But we talked a lot about what happened, and then you go on. It happened in 1997. It's coming up, unbelievably almost on 20 years, which is unbelievable. How in one way time flies, and another way time stands still. We talked about getting over it, but do you?
You don't get over it.
Truly ever. I mean, we can sit and joke, and laugh, but is it something that is like with you all the time?
Every day. There's not a minute goes by that I don't think about where we could be if my son was here today, how much different life would be, positive or negative. You don't look for everything, but every day he was our son. It's not like, I'll tell you a humorous story. Years back, when after this first happened, I had a friend of a friend come over, and we were having a conversation, and he was very remorseful. Oh, I really I'm sorry, and I know how you feel. I lost my cat 2 weeks ago. And I just looked at him and smiled, and I went, yeah, that's pretty tough. People don't know how to respond to given situations. There's a special group of us that survivors in the police world, concerns of police survivors, which we're survivors. We're the people who were left behind. And I've developed quite a friendship with parents all over the country, as a matter of fact, around the world, that have lost children in the line of duty. So I've got support, constant support. Fortunately, I had a good department, still have a good department, that supports my family, that takes care of us, that looks out for us. And too many families don't get that from their departments. It's here today, gone tomorrow. That's not the way St. Louis County works.
And the reason I kind of asked that question was to set up how, as an individual, even myself, who being really good friends with you, how do people approach you, or how do you see people? Do you want people to act normally? And I ask this question a lot when I deal, like the Cancer Society individuals, who are going through it, and they say, well, people treat me differently. They act differently around me. They're not themselves. They're afraid of hurting my feelings or stepping on my feelings. How do individuals speak with you or at you?
Good question. And it's something I noticed all through after Tommy was killed. Policemen are probably the ones that have the biggest fear, are afraid to say something because it's another policeman, or it's not just easy to go up, I'm sorry for your loss. They don't know what to say, because they also know that this may someday directly affect them. I encourage people to talk about Tommy if they knew him. Hey, I knew your son when, and to hear the stories.
But I think people are afraid to do that.
I like that.
My
family likes that. When people say, I didn't want to upset you, do you think I can get any more upset today than I was the day he was killed? And that's what you got to think about. I can't get any more upset. I'm learning to live with it. We are learning to live with it, like every family learns to live with the death of a loved one, of a child, a mother, a father. You learn to adjust to it. Now, life has changed, but you want people to remember. That's all you want. And you want to be able to talk and laugh about it. I tell stories about some of this nonsense that he pulled off while he was growing up, all the knucklehead things that he did. And I also say there's going to be a day of reckoning. When I show up at the pearly gates, me and him are going to have a talk. He's not going to like it, but we're going to have a talk. So it's you have to laugh. You have to smile, because they're down looking at you smiling, and they're laughing. Yeah, sure, they're sad, but there's going to be a day of reckoning when he and I meet again, dad and son, that he bailed out before I had a chance to. So it's just, you want people to talk, because it does bother people. It holds it in. I'm not afraid of it. We're not afraid of it. We've learned not to be afraid of it. Sure, there are people that don't want to hear about it, but what can you say?
What's it make you feel like to stand in front of a group of people? Because I know you get asked to speak, and I'm very fortunate that every time I've asked you to be a part of anything, that you graciously stepped up. But you know what you did at the police chief's breakfast was something that I think every individual on the face of this planet should see. And what's it make you feel like to stand in front of a group of individuals and tell your story and have 1,200 people that are glued to every word that you say, and they walk out maybe with a different look or aspect on their own life?
It's scary. It really is. You spend all my career as a policeman being private, being closed, and then now all of a sudden you're bearing your soul and letting everybody know how it was or how it is. And I've learned through the years and the different situations that I've been, the people that I've been with, and the guidance that I've gotten, the different counseling over the years, that me holding it inside is not going to do me any good. It's not going to do anybody else any good. Maybe, just maybe, a little bit of my travels might help somebody over those rough spots. Then again, maybe not. But if it works for one or two, then I've accomplished something. Not that I'm setting out to do it, but it also helps my heart, and it helps our family, that we can talk about it, and that people, stay alive with the fact that we still have 2 kids. And then you get that, what do you mean? We have 2 children. One's deceased, one is here. Oh, everybody seems to forget the ones that are gone. No, we still got 2 kids. He's probably has as much or more influence now than he did when he was alive. And that's, you don't like to say that, but he was a people person. That's the way he operated. So,
is it easier because I know you've talked to 1,200 people, and I know you've talked to a room of 40 people. Is it easier for you to stand up and make a connection with a bunch of people, or is it easier in that small amount, that small group?
I have to gear what I say, being a policeman and a referee, and when you're talking in front of civilians, no disrespect to the civilians, but we have the police departments, law enforcement LEOs have a different way of communicating with each other. I can say certain things to policemen that I can't say to the civilian world, that's going to impact. So I can adjust what I say. Is it the same content? Absolutely. Nothing changes. Just the way it's presented are the terms that I use as opposed to not. So people are different, situations are different, and the message you're delivering to a particular group is different. But the bottom line, there is one base to it. The base is loss of life.
Do you see, I know you're involved in a lot of organizations, as you mentioned, do you find this is one of those situations that can either rip a family apart or bring a family closer together?
It's a struggle. It's been a struggle. Only by the grace of God and a lot of community, family, caring, our family did stay together. It's still tough, moms, when mothers lose children, it affects them differently than when fathers lose children. Yes, we're both grieving. Yes, we both have those situations, but it's not an easy road, and it puts a strain on everything. It's a new learning experience. Now you're learning to live a different kind of lifestyle, different than one you planned. It's tough. But it's something that you either choose to do it or you choose to walk away from it. I've chosen to stay with it and do it. And we, you know, my wife and I have been together 42 years now of marriage, and 4 years before that, so we've been together 46 years. Since kindergarten. Actually, that's how long I've known her.
Wow. Well, as we start to wrap up today's show, and as I always mention to you, I appreciate everything that you do for us, you know, for the community. This is a way for the community to give back to what you and your son and family have given, you know, to everybody out there. This is going to be on Saturday, July 18th, the Police Officer Tom Smith Jr. Memorial. Emerald Greens, you see all the information on the screen right now. Where can they go out to find out more information?
You could go to we've got a website. We're on Facebook. Phone numbers, our phone numbers are available.
They're all listed on the screen.
They're posted everywhere. Yes. We've got our direct website we've got the Facebook situation. So it's all out there. The social media has this all over, and I share it pretty regular on a Facebook situation. So it's there. Everybody knows about it. My concern is that people come out and support the causes that are important to me, Backstoppers and the Special Olympics, the kids. It's all about kids.
And as we start to wrap the show up tonight, we are going to piggyback a second part of this show onto the show, which is something that we usually do not televise to the community, to the public. It's a private ceremony, but you've been gracious enough to say it's okay to air what was done at the St. Louis Area Police Chiefs Association, because I really do think it will change a lot of lives.
I don't have a problem with that at all. That if whatever I can do to help, and that's what policemen do, right? That's what they tell me. It's what I did for 37 years and 4 months.
And as we wrap up today's show, that will be right after the show. So if you're watching, stay with us. We'll go to break. We'll come back. It'll be the start of the next half hour. But we'll leave everybody with, including myself, and just taking out of daily life about slowing down, not taking things for granted.
Have faith and pay attention to your family. Pay attention. Try to spend as much time with them as you can. That's something I've always done. We've made it our business, or my business, that once a week, twice a week, we're together. The family's always together to dinner. We're doing something together, because what makes me happy. And really, that's what makes everybody happy. And if it doesn't, then maybe you ought to relook at why you're in a situation. So.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
As always, so much. Once again, the website on the screen, TomSmithJrMemorial.com. Thanks for joining us. Make sure and stay with us for the next half hour. We're going to have that special presentation. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.
When Americans volunteer to serve their country promises to take care of them when they come home. After 26 years in the military, James Miner suffered a paralyzing injury that changed not only his life, but his wife's.
My role as a caregiver, it's a 24-hour, 7 days a week, there's no breaks. Having a spinal cord injury is not like you just hurt your back. Everything is a challenge.
Simple day-to-day living requires enormous assistance. Spinal cord injured veterans are dependent upon the VA for their health care and benefits. Getting them can be an overwhelming process. Paralyzed Veterans of America has been fighting for over 60 years to make sure our veterans get all the benefits they deserve.
We know exactly what to do, exactly what the VA needs in order to grant a claim.
They're committed not just to my husband as an individual, they're committed to our family.
Help us help America's veterans. Visit pva.org.